Good afternoon. Hi, everybody. It's Friday. We're in October and we got some warmth back for at least a couple of days here for our 3-day weekend that's coming. It's 10/7, and I'm excited that you joined us today for a workshop with my good friend, Dr. Christina Marin, who's coming to us from Arizona and has Tempest in the background. She's going to talk about some extraordinary literature and how to use it in your leadership journey and developing your skills. And I will let her introduce the title to you and take you on this journey, which I'm on with you. And so I turn it over to my good friend, Christina.
Thank you so much, Jason. I will say this, we have very cold weather here right now. For us, we've been in the 104, 105 range. Today, it's only going to be getting up to 92 here in Phoenix, which is a little chilly for us this time of year.
You're lucky.
Well, sometimes when it's like, I want it to be cold because it's like Halloween season and I want to drink like abuelita chocolate and it's like, it's 92 degrees out. Really, you're having a hot chocolate. So it has its drawbacks, not gonna lie. Welcome to this workshop. As Jason said, we met ages ago at a workshop that I was conducting at a conference in New Jersey, and several of the students walked up to me and were like, we need to bring you to the Bronx. And I was like, oh, okay. I worked at NYU at the time. And then even when I moved up to Boston, Jason kept inviting me back. And so I would drive down to the Bronx and just have amazing workshops. And there's like pictures and history. And I'm friends with so many people from the history of the leadership program on Facebook, and have seen weddings and children being born and all these different things. And so I celebrate Hostos Leadership Academy because it is such an important part of who I am as an educator. I will say this, I worked at NYU and at Emerson College, which are both very private, very elite, very expensive schools. And when I got to be invited to work with Jason and Jason's students, I knew from then, this is where the seeds were planted in my heart, that where I belonged was at a community college, and that I wanted to be, that this was the place where my heart was going to be fulfilled as an educator. So I started the journey when I was at Emerson to try and apply to different community colleges. And I will say this, one of the funny things is, you may not believe this, I was really like shut out of a lot of jobs because people were like, if you're from NYU, if you're from these private elite schools, we don't want you teaching in a community college, because our students deserve people who understand and who want to be at a community college, not just because they want a job. And I had to really work with a vice president for faculty at a community college to really like get to reshape and reform my profile so that I could be someone considered, and then got my dream job here at Phoenix College, which is a community college in the Maricopa Community Colleges district in Maricopa County of Arizona. We have 10 schools, and I teach at the flagship school, which is Phoenix College. And I am the program director for theater and film. So I run everything theater, which is why my office is kind of a fun kind of place that has lots of different stuff and random, like that lamp was in a play last year. Lots of butterflies flying around in every poster from every show. So I love what I do. But in the history of what I've done, I've also been introduced to two very important concepts to me that I believe I've like found ways to use them in different aspects of my life. So one of the aspects of another hat that I wear, I'll take off my Phoenix College hat and put on my Girls Leadership Academy hat. About 12 years ago, we developed a girls leadership camp for middle school girls in New Hampshire. And these are girls who are going into 6th grade, all the way girls going up to 9th grade. And I started to do these workshops and develop things like I had been doing with Jason and his students for young girls. And then so all of these things sort of mesh together. Everything that I do, historically has always been rooted in applied theater. So in using theater and in doing theater. So usually I would drive to the Bronx or take the subway up to the Bronx and do interactive workshops. And then March of 2020 rolls around. Well, first then I moved to Arizona. And then Jason's like, well, I can't fly you out for workshops because that's getting a little pricey. So I said, yeah. And I introduced Jason to someone else who still probably does workshops, I hope, with the students, no, maybe, yeah. And who was a student of mine at NYU. But all of a sudden, March 2020 rolls around and we can do stuff on Zoom. And we're like, wait, why can't I still do workshops? Now, it shifts, right? It has to shift because now I can't be in the room and we can't physically be doing some of the stuff that I would normally do with theater, but I took a different approach. And so the stuff that I'm going to share with you today has become really important in my practice. And I want to share these tools with you so that not just in your leadership style, but in your personal life, you begin to be able to time manage around people who want to drain you of all of your energy and all of your time. And that you can use what we'll talk about as the 4 agreements within your leadership practice, but also within your personal life, because they've made a real huge difference in my personal life. Questions before I actually get started and pull up a Google slideshow? I mean, there's nothing to really ask about yet. Okay. Before we get started, depending on where you are, maybe you won't be able to do this depending on where you are, but I'm going to ask you if you have 3 things. They don't have to be all the same things, but like, for example, I have 3 popsicle sticks. So that we don't have to wait until later, like when we're later, like everyone disperses, see if you can grab 3 things around you and just have them waiting sort of on the side. It could be 3 pairs of glasses. It could be your phone and your cup of coffee and your keys. Just 3 things. And then set them off to the side because we'll revisit them later. Okay. If we were in person, it would be really great to have everyone share their name and what their major is and all that different stuff. But since most of you don't have your cameras on, which is fine, if that's, if you need to be in, not on Zoom camera, we're going to go ahead and get started. I have some names up that if someone like raises a hand and uses that function, I can call on people, or Jason, you can call on people to let me know. So if someone types a question in the chat, I do have the chat open, but I'm not going to necessarily be focusing it on all the time. So if someone wants to say, hey, there's a question in the chat, it's a sort of loose atmosphere. There's nothing formal. You don't have to, if you want to just unmute yourself and start talking, I'll shut up and listen to you. Okay, let's get started. Let me see to be able to, do I have share screen privileges, Jason?
Yes.
Okay. Can you see this? I haven't started it as a presentation yet, but can you see the slideshow? Great, okay. So I'm going to put this up and I'm going to try and move you all around so that I can see what it is that I'm sharing with you. Okay. Has anyone read the book, The 4 Agreements? Raise your hand in the, let's see. Do we have any? So there's an X, there's a no. Okay, so The 4 Agreements is a book by, hold on, let me just open up the chat again. No, okay, thanks, Sashi. The 4 Agreements is a book by a man named Don Miguel Ruiz. And I'm going to talk a little bit about the book first, and then we'll go into what each one of the agreements are. So the title of the workshop is called Using the 4 Agreements to Deal with Our Energy Vampires. Energy Vampires is another book that's written by one of my dear friends, Dr. Steve Ornelas. And so I'll introduce the concepts that some of the concepts, not all of them, that he talks about. We will go into each of the 4 agreements. However, there is a 5th agreement that Don Miguel Ruiz has published a book with his son, which takes the 4 agreements in a little bit of a different direction. And it's also very, very good, but I've been doing this workshop with the 4 agreements, so I didn't want to muddy the waters by adding that 5th agreement in. Let's take a look at, wait, can I get onto this? Okay, so again, I'm gonna have to move you guys around. So every time I do this, I'm gonna have to move because of where stuff is on the screen. So this is the cover of the book, The 4 Agreements. And it is subtitled A Toltec Wisdom Book by Don Miguel Ruiz. And his title is, he's a Nahual from the Eagle Knight lineage of the Toltec dynasty. And it is a practical guide to personal freedom. So if you're ever in a Barnes and Noble, or if you're on Amazon and you want to buy the book, there's a lot of books by Don Miguel Ruiz. He's very prolific in his writings. And so let me just move this. Okay, so I'm going to move this here. This is Teotihuacan. If you don't recognize it, or if you've never been there, I've actually climbed to the top of this pyramid, which is outside of Mexico City. So thousands of years ago, the Toltec were known throughout southern Mexico as women and men of knowledge. The Toltec were scientists and artists who formed a society to explore and conserve the spiritual knowledge and the practices of what they refer to as the ancient ones. They came together as masters, or the other word for that would be nahuals, and as students at Teotihuacan, the ancient city of pyramids outside of Mexico City, which was known as the place where man becomes God, right? So you have the sun pyramid, the moon pyramid, you have the pyramid of Quetzalcoatl. It's a beautiful sort of avenue of places of ancient history from the country of Mexico. Like the pyramids in Egypt, people are like, how were these put together? Who built these? You know, these are mysteries that we don't really know. So let's go back. So this is another angle to the pyramids. Toltec knowledge arises from the essential unity of truth as all the sacred esoteric traditions found around the world. The same kind of ideas. Esoteric is an interesting word, and I've put I've linked it so that we can take a look at what does this word mean, right? Not a lot of people know what this word means. It's something that is understood by or meant for only the select few who have special knowledge or interest, recondite, belonging to the select few, private, secret, confidential. That's the meaning of the word esoteric. So if we look again at, let me go back to sharing this. So it arises from the same essential unity of truth as all the sacred esoteric traditions found around the world. So the idea that, oh, wait, can I? Yeah, I can still see you guys. You're down here. I just can't find the chat. Hold the phone. Wait, I got to open up this. Where's my chat? There it is. Okay, great. So when we talk about the unity of truth, right? Like when we talk about different cultural traditions, philosophical traditions, religious traditions, there are many differences so stark that wars have been fought over the differences between religions. But when we look at the basic unity of truths that religions kind of try to espouse, we look at, you know, honor your neighbor, honor your mother and father, honor people, be be the best person that you can be, treat others the way you want to be treated, right? All of these universal truths that are like the way that we should walk in the world, the way that people can coexist peacefully. Though it is not a religion, right? Going back to the slide, it honors all of the spiritual masters who have taught on the earth. When we talk about spiritual masters, we're talking about, right, the Buddha, we're talking about Muhammad, we're talking about all of the ancient traditions of religion, Zoroaster, Jesus Christ, Moses, all of the, all of the people who have led people on spiritual journeys. I'm sure we could list a whole other group of people. So while it does embrace the idea of spirit or spirituality, it is not a religion. It's most accurately described as a way of life distinguished by the ready accessibility of happiness and love. So we're talking about Toltec knowledge, Toltec wisdom, which is what these writings are grounded in. Toltec knowledge, Toltec wisdom. Okay, so I'm going to start us off by looking at the first. Let me see if hold on. I'm going to put you guys here and see if I can. Okay, I'm still going to look at the camera here, but I see you guys on this other screen. Okay, so if I say, be impeccable with your word, this is where we are going to get interactive, because I want you to put into the chat now, what does this statement mean to you? If this is an agreement that we should make with ourselves, what does it mean to be impeccable with your word? So go ahead and write in the chat things that you interpret or infer from this agreement. Be impeccable with your word. Is there anyone who wants me to click on the link to show us what impeccable means?
Yes, please.
Great. And so let me get, good, be authentic. Good, mean what you say. Let me go and do this real quick. Impeccable means faultless, flawless, irreproachable, not liable to sin or incapable of sin. So going back here and going back to the, bring the chat back up, hold on. So going back, so wait, we want here. Okay, so here's what people have written in the chat. Respectable. Excuse me, may I ask what the exactly is the particular temple look? Oh, Mexico City. It is Teotihuacan. So let me Teotihuacan. If you want to look that up, Teotihuacan. That's in Mexico. Okay, so wait, let me go back. So be authentic, perfect, mean what you say, to honor whatever you say, to make less mistakes as possible, keep your promises. Being impeccable with your word. These are all amazing answers. I'm going to add a layer to this. When you say something, when something comes out of your mouth, it can be one of two things. It can be a weapon or it can be a tool. And a tool can be used to build all kinds of things and build relationships, but a weapon is used to tear things down and tear people down. So think about the idea of being impeccable with your word. As leaders, I will say this, you better be prepared if you are going to say something about someone. You better be prepared to say that in front of their face. Otherwise, you're not being impeccable with your word. In other words, when you gossip or say something about someone, right, if you are hiding behind the anonymity of knowing that no one is going to tell that person, or you can say it because you're telling people, don't tell this person I said that about them. But if you are truly impeccable with your word, you would be able to say this to that person. I'm going to give you an example of how this happened in my world. I was in graduate school and we went to a conference, a bunch of different graduate students. And I had a colleague, so I do theater, right? And I mostly in graduate school was doing theater with young people. And I had a colleague who was a privileged white woman, blonde hair and blue eyes, and she was married, and she had an engagement ring and a wedding ring that had diamonds on it that were bigger than my fingernails, pretty much. I'll give that. And she chose to work with an inner city high school on Shakespeare and using Shakespeare to teach stuff. And every time she would go there, she would be dressed up in, you know, a suit and have her wedding ring and her engagement ring on. And she just looked like she was, you know, unapproachable. And she would share with us that she didn't think that the students were really letting her in, that they weren't connecting with her, that she felt that they were being really like distant. And we were at this conference. She wasn't in the room. And someone mentioned that she had brought it up, and we were talking about it. And I said, well, the problem is this person, if she could try and meet the students where they are instead of sort of flashing her wealth and being someone that, you know, like, and I'm not asking her to be someone who she's not, but it was intimidating for them. And at one point in this conversation, she came into the hotel room that we were all sitting in talking, and everyone sort of looked at me like, shh, don't say anything, right? And she walked in and she said, what are you guys talking about? And I said, you. Not looking to hold back, right? Because I choose to be impeccable with my word. If I'm going to say it behind your back, I better be ready to say it to your face. And she said, what do you mean? And I said, well, we're talking about how sometimes you have asked about why the students don't feel that you're approachable, why, you know, they might not be connecting with you for your research. And I said, I'm going to be honest with you. My perception is that you walk into this space and you have these huge rocks on your hand and you seem like this really rich white lady, and you're doing these workshops in South Phoenix in a high school that's, you know, almost 100% students of color. And well, she's like, well, I can't stop being who I am. I said, yes, but you don't have to necessarily flaunt wealth or so. To come to the end of the story, one day I was eating lunch in a some fast food place, and she walked in behind me, and her hair was in braids. She had this cute, like, sort of Abercrombie and Fitch like outfit on, or American Eagle, and she just looked adorable. And I turned around and I was like, oh my God, you look so cute. And she was like, I just came from my research and everyone loved my outfit, and they just kept, and I put my rings on the inside of my finger, and I wasn't, and I love them and they love me. Thank you for telling me that, because it changed how I can be in the room with them. Because again, like, you know, one of the things is we're all different people in all the different realms of our life, right? We code switch characters that we play with different people, right? If I'm going to go and meet the president of the college, I'm not necessarily going to be the person that I paint the set and I'm wearing, like, you know, overalls and bandana in my hair and like getting paint all over me. They're two different people that I walk in the world as. But if I'm able to be impeccable with my word, I should be able to say anything to the person that I would be talking about. Questions. You can unmute yourself and ask me questions, or say, this is something that happened to me. Talk to each other as we go through all of these things.
We say that. I wanted to talk about like the code switch thing. I love that, because I was telling my friend about it. I was like, she's like, oh, you acting all white. I said, no, listen, I just code switch. Okay. I know when and who to talk to who, what environment, and all that.
That is,
and I love I said, that's something we're taught in the hood, baby.
You wait, say that again. Say that again. You cut out a bit.
I said, that's something we're taught in the hood, baby.
Exactly. We have to be, and you know, it's interesting because more and more we are the people who are changing higher education, right? 50 years ago, if you think that I would be able to, just this morning, we have the show going on. And outside there was an exterminator who works for the college. And he like drove up his truck that had this huge tank of it. And he was about to start hosing down the building. And I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. And he was like, mande? And I said, you can't do that right now. We have a show going on. And he's like, ¿hablas español? And I was like, sí, es que mira, usted no puede hacer esto en ese momento porque tenemos una obra. And he looked at me like, oh my God. Like, he was like, are you allowed to do this? Right? And I was like, si puedes venir el lunes porque toda la obra tenemos todo este fin de semana y necesito que entres también porque tenemos arañas allá en el teatro. And he was like, in many instances, this man walks around this campus and no one notices him. He's a worker. He's there. He does his thing, but no one necessarily talks to him. But why not? Right? We should be able to change the environment because just by speaking Spanish, he feels more comfortable here that this is his campus as well, right? We change the world that we walk in. We are fast becoming the majority of people in this country. I hate to tell everyone, but at some point, maybe not while we're all alive, but the official language of this continent is going to be Spanish. It's just going to happen. And we have this ability to be, right? I can absolutely put on a suit or put on high heels and a dress, but I will tell you right now, these are the shoes I'm wearing to work today. Because we are changing the world that we live in, right? So I love that you were just talking about this idea of code switching. It's important for us. We're able to wear different hats in different situations. Talk to me, people, talk to me. Let's go to the next slide and then we'll continue to unpack this. Being impeccable with your word means speak with integrity. Say only what you mean. Avoid using the word to speak against yourself or to gossip about others. Use the power of your word in the direction of truth and love. Yes, Elizabeth, that's a great way. Code switching is the same as role taking, like playing different characters depending on who your audience is. Like if you're talking to your mom at home versus if you're talking to people at school, if you're talking to a doctor, right? So with this, the other thing is, as leaders, you need to model everything that you use this, your spoken word as. So if you are like, oh, I wish I was prettier. Oh, I wish I was this. Oh, I wish I was more talented. Oh, I wish I had better grades. You don't have to burn your candle out. You need to let your candle burn bright. And you need to be proud of yourself and lead by example in that you are not a perfect human being because nobody is a perfect human being. And really speaking from, one of the things I like about being impeccable with your word is also something that I really use with my students in every class that I teach, right? Speak from the I. If I say speak from the I don't mean speak from the ojo instead of your boca. I mean, speak, I believe, blah, 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 blah. Because, you always in that class where they're like, well, we just didn't get the assignment. What do you mean we? You got a mouse in your pocket? Who are you talking about? I got the assignment, I did it. We. People hide behind this royal we, but they don't own what it is that it's their choice to say something. Really speaking from the I is an important aspect of being impeccable with your word. Throw into the chat if you have a question or if you want to say something about this idea of being impeccable with your word. I'm going to sip some Dunkin' Donuts coffee. All right, I'm gonna not pause then, so we're gonna just go on to the next agreement. If anyone wants to come back to this agreement, we absolutely can. Something might come up for something in a little bit when we do something else, but this is one of the hardest ones ever. Never take anything personally. How many people think that that's impossible? Raise your hand if you think it's impossible on the never take anything personally, right? It is so hard to do. It's so hard to do, but it will change your life. Exactly. Good, Sabrina. It's not impossible, but it is very challenging. And it is not something that happens overnight. But let me go ahead to this so we can start to talk about, right? So the premise is, the agreement is never take anything personally. And here's what we're talking about. Nothing others do is because of you. What others say and do is a projection of their own reality and their own dream. And when Don Miguel Ruiz talks about the dream, right, it's the reality that they are living in. When you are immune to the opinions and actions of others, you won't be the victim of needless suffering. So let's open this up and talk about it. Let's talk about this. When someone tells you that you're not a good singer, right? You're singing and they're like, oh, your voice is really bad. Is that a reflection of your voice or about maybe what's happening in their world that day? If they need to say something not nice, maybe they're in a mood, right? Maybe someone said something not nice to them. Maybe something happened that morning where they're just in a, my husband likes to say, we're talking about candles again. Why do you have to burn out my candle so yours can burn brighter? So when someone speaks negatively about you, you need to be able to sort of brush it off and be like, nope, it's not about me. It's about the fact that they don't feel good inside. So they have to speak negative. The negative is coming off of them. Okay, Casey is saying, it's challenging, but I was raised in Jamaica. You're taught to have a tough skin. I feel like that has helped me a lot here in the US where it's a different environment. Absolutely. And the idea of having a tough skin, it's not about not communicating with others. Like if they say something, and it's also not about like saying to them like, well, wow, you really are having a bad day. Stop talking negative about other people unless you really care about them and you want to have that conversation with them. But this idea that if someone has to put me down, the reason that they have to put me down is so that they can feel elevated. They're comparing themselves to me so that when they say like, yeah, that's not as good as what I did this one time. Well, just acknowledge that what I did was good. We don't have to compare ourselves to each other. That someone, so yeah, Mary, do you want to unmute yourself and share?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, like, also when somebody reflects something negative onto you, it's like by being aware of that they're projecting, it's like basically you're putting a halt to that negativity because you are aware that just because they're feeling that way, you don't have to keep on carrying it like further to others and also onto yourself.
I love that.
Because you know that it's not personally that you're taking it. You're thinking much deeper than, oh, it's on to me, you know?
And when you can sort of be compassionate to that person and be like, I hear what you're saying, and I'm not going to internalize your negativity towards me, because what I'm going to do right now is feel, compassionate towards you because you're obviously not having a good day. But I'm not going to start having a bad day because you are. That is definitely exactly what you're saying. That what we're going to look at with energy vampires completely. So Erica's asking the question, what happens when other people profiling? What do you mean by profiling?
So someone say that, portray you badly and untrue in front of other people.
So I'm going to give you an example of what I think you might be talking about. When I was writing my dissertation was working with Latina adolescents to develop a sense of identity construction through theater. And so one of the things that we talked about was code switching in terms of language. Okay, how many people in the workshop speak more than one language? Raise your hand. Got quite a bit of people who are raising hands and people who speak multiple languages, right? And so the kids who I worked with, the young people I worked with, their teachers, many of whom were white people in Arizona, would tell them that they sounded stupid when they spoke half in English, half in Spanish. That, oh, you're sounding stupid because you're making yourself sound ignorant because you don't know how to speak English well enough. And in this conversation that I had with these young people, we talked about the idea of when people who only speak one language, who are monolingual, have to make people who obviously have more language knowledge and ability in their brains, who speak one, maybe two, maybe three languages, right? There are people who speak English, they also speak Spanish, and they might speak indigenous languages from their countries. So in my opinion, if you have more than one language, right? So when a monolingual person has to make you feel like you are not intelligent, I would like to turn around to that person and say, really? How many languages do you speak? Oh, just one? Yeah, I'm so sorry you only speak one language. And that is a language. Urban English and proper English is you are able to code switch between two different languages. Absolutely. And oh, that sounds, you're not sounding smart. Really? Is it me that's not sounding smart, or you that's not sounding smart for thinking that and having to burn out my candle, which is a multilingual candle, instead of your monolingual candle? And I do this all the time with students in education. Let's do some math. Okay, let's do some math. Sorry, it's not a math workshop, but we are going to do a little bit of math. Let's say 5 immigrant children come to this country at the age of 5. Okay, and there are 2 in the same classroom, 2 monolingual English speaking students. I'm not talking about the color of anybody's skin, but I'm talking about language ability. So let's say you have someone who has come from China. What language might they speak? Someone type it in the chat. What language might someone from China speak? Mandarin, Cantonese, excellent. Chinese, so all different like dialects of Chinese. Exactly, speaking more than one language requires complex cognitive tasks. So rather than someone telling you, you sound stupid, you should say to them, actually, I sound a lot smarter than you because I can code switch in many languages. So someone comes from the Middle East. What do they speak? This another 5-year-old. Someone's coming from the Middle East. What are they speaking? Type it in the chat. Thank you. Arabic. Now someone else is coming from Ecuador. What are they speaking? Ecuador. Quechua, excellent. And Spanish, good. Spanish, Quechua. Now, someone, so we have those 3. We have someone coming from China, someone coming from the Middle East, someone coming from Ecuador, someone who is coming from South Africa. 13 different official languages. 5-year-old child coming to the United States from South Africa. What do they speak? What's one of the options? They could speak French. They could speak English. They could speak Afrikaans. Good. And any of the like 13 official indigenous languages, Swahili, Kiswahili, Xhosa, they can speak all of these different, right? So And then let's see the last person we have coming from Korea. What does the student from Korea speak? Anyone, type it in. Anyone, type it in. They're speaking Korean, thank you. Okay, so we have these 5 students. One comes speaking Korean, one comes speaking Afrikaans, one comes speaking Espanol, one comes speaking Arabic, one comes speaking Mandarin. They come to the United States, and in the kindergarten class that they're in, there's 2 other students, and they both were born in the United States and they only speak English. As these 5-year-olds start to progress through their education, they are learning English altogether, correct? Because they're at school in the United States and they're learning English. In some schools, they will tell those kids, you must forget your mother tongue. You must forget your native language. You must stop speaking that. They will tell your parents in parent-teacher conferences, you have to stop speaking to them in that language. They must learn English. So parents comply, children start forgetting their native language. They then can't speak to their grandparents who might live with them. And these 2 English-speaking kids are learning their language from their native tongue, right? Their English language, and everyone else is coming along and learning English, right? And they've taken away this other language. So then, hold on. Then what happens? Fast forward, when those kids are 15 years old in the United States education system, what are they required to do in high school? Study a second language. It's a requirement to get, I'm from Queens, people. I am from Queens. I went to school in New York City. I grew up in a system where I had to take a Regents in another language. Imagine if we let those kids keep their original native mother tongue, right? So you have Chinese, you have Arabic, you have French, you have Afrikaans, you have Quechua, you have Korean. You've been practicing it for 15 years. You've also learned English as a second language, or even third or fourth. Now imagine you get to high school, you pick up a third or fourth or fifth language. Who is more marketable in the global economy that we have? Someone who speaks English and just a little bit of Spanish from their 7th and 8th grade class? Or someone who's now trilingual or multilingual? Who's more marketable?
Someone who is trilingual or is fully bilingual.
And that's why they have to take away language from immigrants who come to this country, because they're afraid of us.
Yes.
This is why we need to change the system. This is why we can't take it personally when someone says, oh, you don't sound intelligent because you have an accent. Actually, ¿sabes qué pendejo? Yo sí me siento muy inteligente porque yo puedo hablar y yo puedo decirte lo que me da la gana en español.
I wanted to mention that I had that experience when I started college. And then after I became a tutor for biology, I felt like, okay, so you guys, this is your first language, English, but guess what? I have to tutor you guys on your own language. Like, come on, right? Who's the smartest one?
Who has the intelligence? But they want to make people who are immigrants or people whose heritage is from a different country, rather than the American dream, they want to make us feel like we don't have the intelligence. But the reality is, if we can understand that we actually have the multilingual code switching intelligence that they will never have, they're trying to burn out our candle so theirs can burn brighter. We are becoming the majority. Underrepresented populations are becoming the majority in this country. And it's not necessarily about one minority rising up against another, or like, it's about realizing that there is so much that we all can do together, rather than having a group of people try and keep people down. Not taking others' insults personally is so important. Because when we take it personally, we allow them to get inside our heads and question whether or not we are worth something. Don't let them. Don't let them take that away from you. There are 100 different ways in which we take things personally. I'm going to share something with you. This year, I turned 52 years old. Last year in August, when I was 51, I had a baby. If anyone wants to say, ay, mira, está un poco gordita, that's correct, because I birthed a child. I brought life into this world. So don't call me fat. Don't fat shame me. I had life inside of me and I brought it into the world. And I don't have to go on a diet to make you feel better about how I look. Thank you, Elizabeth. If I want to change the way I look, I'll do that. Thank you. Her name is Itzel, Itzel, and she is the apple of my eye. If I want to change the way I look, or if I choose that, you know, I need to lose weight because of my health for any reason or whatever, that's my business. You don't need to look at me and make a personal opinion of me, because the only opinion that matters is my own. And the only opinion that matters about you is your own. Right? All right. Other questions or other comments or other stories? Yes, and Itzel is our rainbow baby. We lost our son, and so she is our rainbow baby. She's our rainbow warrior, our rainbow goddess. Thank you so much, Elizabeth. All right, are we ready for challenging the taking on the challenge of the next agreement and unpacking it? Excellent, we're gonna do it. No one said no, so I'm gonna assume that we are ready. Oh, this go. You thought it was difficult not to take something personal. Don't make assumptions. This is a tough one. I think that not taking things personally is the hardest one, but this one also is when we start to actually grasp this. Let me just go to the next slide. When we start to do this, we can change our lives drastically. Find the courage to ask questions and to express what you really want. Communicate with others as clearly as you can to avoid misunderstandings, sadness, and drama. Now, I'm a theater person. I love drama. I am drama. I live drama. But I want the drama to stay on the stage. I don't want drama in my life. I want drama to be in the theater, not in my office. With just this one agreement, you can completely transform your life. Let me ask this question. And here, I really want you all to raise your hand. So get ready to raise the hand in the reactions. Or you can just type into the chat, me. How many people have ever received a text from someone or have written a text to someone where you forgot to put in, or your friend forgot to put in the LOL at the end, and then you take them seriously and you're like, you don't talk to them for like 2 weeks. And then they like text you and they're like, dude, what's wrong? Why aren't you like, I haven't heard from you. Not 2 weeks. You're a little bit more lenient, right? Why haven't I heard from you? Oh, because you said this and you didn't, like, what the hell? Oh no, I was totally joking. I meant LOL. Well, you didn't type LOL, so I thought you were saying it for real. Even just by saying like, dude, are you serious? And then when they say JK, 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 you avoid the 2 week mishap of like, right? I was with a woman who works in fleet services here at the college, and my chair, the chair of my department. Chair of my department is a white guy, and the two of us are, she's indigenous and Mexican, and I'm Colombian and white. And so we're having this conversation where we're explaining to him that when you get to a party in our culture, if you don't shake hands or say hi to every single person there, they're going to be upset with you. They're going to wonder what they did to you. They're going to wonder why you didn't say hi. They're going to say to someone else, ¿Y a mí por qué no me saludan? Why didn't they say hi to me? And then you won't be invited to the daughter's quinceañera because, you know, you didn't say hi at the posada or at Tio Chuy's carne asada. And this guy was like, what? So I love this. So Prina, you're kind of, I feel like I used to do that, but now I ask what they mean. Even if I took it personally for a split second, at least I still ask. Yes, it's about the communication. At the root of all of this, it's about the communication. It's about making sure that you don't just take things for granted and you don't take it personally, right? Like it hits you personally and you're like, wait a minute, is that what you really meant? Communication is at the root of almost every misunderstanding that we have because someone didn't ask, someone didn't say, someone didn't admit, someone took for granted. All of the misunderstandings that we have. Don't make assumptions. I will say that my husband and I, before we had our baby, we had to come to terms with some things that we finally said, like, listen, this is what drives me up a wall when you do it. Can I tell you? Yes, tell me. Oh, I assumed that you also didn't think. No, don't assume. Right? That communication allowed us to go into becoming parents in a very different mindset, with our hearts in a different place. Because as a couple, right, there are things that we could do that would annoy each other, that if we just told each other that that annoyed us, we might be able to work through it or stop doing it. But if you don't know that it's bothering someone, why would you stop doing it? Anything from like leaving the cap off the toothpaste, right? The littlest of things become things that build up. And someone makes an assumption that you know it's annoying when you don't really. Thoughts about never make assumptions. Put them in the chat, unmute yourself, talk about it. I've been talking for a long time. My throat hurts. What are we thinking about this never make assumptions agreement?
Because assumptions are also stereotypes, and that's very dangerous.
Very dangerous. Very dangerous. That's an excellent observation. What else we got? What else we got? Find the courage to ask questions and to express what you really want and what you really need. Y'all got this? You're like, I'm never going to make an assumption again. The last one's really easy, so I don't want to rush us into the last one. 100%, Casey. 100%. And I don't know if especially, but it is the case that in partnerships like marriage, you make a commitment, right? I think the number of people, the number of people who choose to get divorced sometimes could be lowered if people just agree to do this one agreement, right? If you get married to someone and you are looking for perfection in your relationship, you're starting off on the wrong foot. You have to be willing to compromise. You have to be willing to forgive. You have to be willing to learn from each other. That's with friendships as well. That's with family members, siblings. My goodness, siblings. right? We have to be able to not make assumptions and really communicate. As leaders, but not just as leaders, as followers. I'm going to use those two terms, right? You need to learn leadership, but you also need to learn followship, because you cannot be an effective leader unless you understand what the verb of following is. And you have to be able to wear both hats successfully and efficiently, right? If you are able to see the qualities of someone else's leadership style that you appreciate, right? But you want to make sure you're not making, I'm going to let Francine in, but oh wait, no, I can't. Can someone let Francine in? Oh wait, wait. Every time I go to admit Francine, that thing, oh, there we go. Okay, I've let Francine in. Not making assumptions and communicating means, right? Let's just say in a leadership, excellent, thanks, Francine. That in a leadership situation, right? You have maybe a group project that you have. How many people have worked on group projects for classes? Well, all of us, right? And the leader of the group, who's been assigned to be the leader for 1 week of the semester, is an athlete that's going out of town on a tournament. Does a good leader assume that the rest of the people are just going to continue to run with their tasks? The good leader would actually say, I need to transfer leadership for this week because I'm going to be out of town. And so can someone else pick up the leadership baton and collect the emails and make sure everyone knows where we are in the project and update people? That's good leadership, not making assumptions that everyone's just going to keep going along the way that you need to. Assumptions are so, so dangerous. All right, fourth agreement. So I promised you 4 agreements. This one may sound really easy, and it's the easiest one for us to sort of commit to, but it's sometimes the hardest for us to actually do. Always do your best. Just always bring your A game. But let's understand this. Your best is going to change from moment to moment. It will be different when you are healthy as opposed to sick. Under any circumstance, simply do your best and you will avoid self-judgment, self-abuse, and regret. If you can say that with the circumstances that you were given, you did your best, you should be able to sleep well at night. But you also, right, like I say to my students, and I teach everyone from high school students who are doing early college classes, like ACE program and the Hoops of Learning program, or my college, my community college is associated with Phoenix College Preparatory Academy. So those students are taking college level classes to get ahead of the game. It's not that we're, making the college classes that we teach high school level. No, those kids are taking college level classes. So I have said to students, look, if you see the syllabus and you come to a moment where you know that the project that you have due for my class, or the assignment you have due for my class, is during the same week that you have a math midterm or a science project that's due or a lab that's due or something in another class, all I want you to do is email me and we'll talk about an extension, right? You can request an extension before the deadline. If you request an extension after the deadline, I'm going to say, no, that was already due. You didn't call me before. You didn't speak to me. You didn't email me. You didn't ask for the extension. I will allow you to plan your life and have the time management skills and the organizational skills to be able to turn in an assignment late, because I want you to do your best. And your best, if it's 4 in the morning and you just finished your lab, typing up your lab and like putting it onto your Canvas or Blackboard or whatever, and then you're going to start your paper. I don't want you at 4 a.m. to write your paper because it's going to be bad. Your mind isn't 100% there. I want you to be able to write your paper in the best possible circumstance. So I will take it a few days late if you can be the best that you could possibly be in that moment. And again, that ties back into the idea that don't assume that your professor won't accept it, but also don't assume that they're going to accept it after the deadline when you didn't say anything. I will not speak for every professor on the face of the planet, but if I ruled the world, this would be the rule. If you're a professor, you have to allow your students to be adults. They have to be able to talk to you and say, this is where I am right now. I'm asking for your understanding. I'm asking for your help to give me one more day to work on this paper so that I can turn in something of quality rather than something that I'm just going to churn, like I'm just going to write it because it's the assignment and it won't be as good. And your class means a lot to me. So I want to put my best foot forward. Please allow me one more day. If you take it to them professionally and don't just complain about how much you have going on in your life, you never know. The worst they can say is no. And I can't change their mind. I'm just one professor. But I can say that for me and for many of the educators that I work with, it is important for us to be able to show people compassion and understanding. And always doing our best. I'm going to show you a little video. If I want to make sure that you can hear what this is, hold on, let me move the chat to over here. If I click on this, can we still see?
For equality, for laws that help and protect our community, for my son.
Can you hear that? And can you see it?
Yes.
Great, okay.
Daughter, mother, grandparents, and our future. That is why I vote. Who do you vote for? Check your registration now.
So this is just 2 minutes.
We are constantly being bombarded by problems that we face. And sometimes we can get completely overwhelmed. The story of the hummingbird is about this huge forest being consumed by a fire. All the animals in the forest come out and they are transfixed as they watch the forest burning, and they feel very overwhelmed, very powerless, except this little hummingbird. It says, I'm going to do something about the fire. So it flies to the nearest stream, takes a drop of water, puts it on the fire, and goes up and down, up and down, up and down, as fast as it can. In the meantime, all the other animals, much bigger animals, like the elephant with a big trunk, could bring much more water. They are standing there helpless, and they are saying to the hummingbird, what do you think you can do? You're too little. This fire is too big. Your wings are too little. And your beak so small, you can only bring a small drop of water at a time. But as they continue to discourage it, it turns to them without wasting any time and tells them, I'm doing the best I can. And that to me is what all of us should do. We should always feel like a hummingbird. I may feel insignificant, but I certainly don't want to be like the animals watching as the planet goes down the drain. I will be a hummingbird. I will do the best I can.
Thoughts about that?
I have said several times I'm
wait.
concluding, but let me conclude
Hold on a second.
with a little story that I like to give because I've talked about a lot of issues.
Stop
I know
it.
you are very well informed and you probably think, what can we do? I like to
figure
tell
out
a
how to
story of
stop.
a hummingbird I don't know how many of you have heard me tell about the hummingbird, but I like to tell about the story of a hummingbird because quite often we feel overwhelmed. So this story of a hummingbird, which I learned
Sorry,
from
everyone.
Japan,
Hold on one second.
is the story of a forest that caught fire.
I'm
and it
trying
was
to
a
find out how
huge
to
fire.
stop the video.
And it was
Does anyone
raging.
know how I can do
And
that?
all the animals came out of the forest and stood by the edge of the forest, and they were watching the fire. They were very overwhelmed. They were powerless. They felt like there was nothing they could do because the problem was too much for them.
I can't figure out how to
Except
stop
this
that.
little hummingbird. The hummingbird said, I'm going to do something about the fire.
I don't want to
So it
escape
flew
this. Hold
to the
on.
nearest stream,
Try to close the tab.
flew back and put it on the fire. Then back again, brought
Hold on one
another
second.
drop
Let
of
me come
water
out of
and
here.
put it on the
Aha,
fire. And it
aha,
kept going
aha,
as
aha,
fast as
aha.
it could.
I have stopped that. Thank you. That was helpful. I don't know if I did what you told me to do, but I did something that made me able to do that. So let me come back to Zoom. All right. Can you see me again? Or I guess maybe you can never stop seeing me. You saw all my craziness. Let me go back to the oops, nope, here we go. Okay, here, slide, nope, I got to escape that because I have to share my screen first, don't I? Yes. I'm so glad this is being recorded, aren't you? Boom. All right. Oh, I think, yes, here. Here we are. Yay. Okay. Are we back? Yes. Slideshow. Can you see me and the slideshow?
Yes, yes.
Awesome.
Yes.
Thank you, thank you. Okay, so we only have like 20 more minutes, but that's enough time for us to talk about energy vampires. Remember, you have your 3 things with you, right? Energy Vampires, Managing Stress and Negative Thoughts in Your Personal and Professional Life is a small, very small book written by my friend, Dr. Steve Ornelas, who I met at Central Arizona College 6 years ago. When he turned me on to this idea of the energy vampires, it really changed my life. And I incorporated it with the 4 agreements, which I had learned about prior to that. And it really has helped me deal with a lot of negative stuff in my life and turn it into positive stuff. So let's take a look. We need to become mindful of the energy vampires and beware of them, the ones that are in our life that will suck us dry if we let them to. And there's a very simple fact of how we walk in the world, right? We have to teach people how we want them to treat us. We can't just let them treat us the way they want to. We have to let them know what we're willing to accept in the way that they treat us. So the question I'm asking you to think about, not necessarily share, because sometimes it's difficult to talk about these things, but who or what is the image on I love you, Francine. What is the image on the screen right now? What is that? It's a black hole. Thank you, Jose. It's a black hole. So think about what a black hole, right? Sucks everything into it and just gives you darkness and nothing else. Who or what is draining you of your energy or your spirit? It does not have to be a person. It can be a certain class that you're taking. It can be a person. It can absolutely be a person. It can be your job, it can be, right? But if it's draining you, you might need to rearrange your life. Think about for a second, who or what is draining you of your energy or your spirit? Now, I want us to do a simple exercise. Who is going to be my partner in this exercise? I need a partner who has 3 things. Jason. Excellent. I'm going to put you over here so I can see you right in front of me. So Jason and I are going to do an exercise. Oh, wait, no, come back. Jason and I are going to do an exercise where I have these 3 popsicle sticks and Jason is going to work with me in this exercise. And you're all going to be, this is a fishbowl exercise. A fishbowl exercise is something where you all watch as we do this, but you're processing what would you do if you were in this situation. So Jason and I have been really good friends for a long time. Jason is someone that I always love to talk to and confide in and tell my problems to. He always listens. He's a great listener. So Jason, where should we go to talk about my problems? Where should we go? Where should we hang out?
Someplace quiet, private.
Okay, someplace quiet, private. Maybe this the sort of couches by the Starbucks, in the back of the Starbucks. There's not a lot of people back there. Let's go there. We're going to Starbucks, okay? Not by the front where everyone's getting their drinks. So Jason and I walk in and we sit down. Now, each of the things that I pass into the screen, Jason has the ability to take. So Jason's going to use his 3 objects and take what I'm giving from the screen, okay? Everyone get that so far? I'm going to say yes. Okay. Jason, I'm so glad we were able to come and just hang out at our favorite Starbucks. Thanks for always, like, you know, hanging out with me. It's just been such a hard week. Oh, it's been really, really difficult. Like, you know, these 2 people at my job, they like gave their notice, and actually they didn't even give notice. They just left. And that's one of my biggest problems right now. It's just really hard for me to deal with the fact that I have to pick up shifts, and it's like so annoying. And oh my God, I'm so tired. And Jason, my mom is just really getting on my back, and she's absolutely just, you know, she's telling me that I can't be friends with the people that I'm friends with, and she doesn't like, you know, this woman that I'm seeing, I've been dating for a little while, and she doesn't like her, and it's just really, really hard. And oh, Jason, you're such a good listener. I'm so grateful for you. And then like this one class that I have this one class that I know I'm gonna fail, and it's just basically gonna like ruin my GPA, and everything is gonna like just, I can't believe I have that class, and it's a requirement for my major, and oh my God, it's awful. Thanks for listening. You're always so great, Jason. Maybe we can do this again next week. Okay, bye. Jason, what do you have in your hands? What is Jason now carrying around with him?
Or your baggage or your energy.
All of my negativity. I am the energy vampire. Absolutely, in this scenario, that is just basic. Did I ask Jason how Jason was doing?
No, you didn't even give him a time to answer you.
Jason never spoke once. He just listened and took in my problems, and now Jason is left with this handful of problems. Now, if the scenario is different and Jason starts to learn to deal with it, now you may not change me and who I am, but Jason can start to change the way that Jason deals with me. So Jason is going to, we're going to do this really quickly again, and Jason is going to show us what he ends up with in his hands. Okay, so we're going to Starbucks again. Jason, thank you so much for agreeing to hang out with me. I've just had such a hard week, and these 2 people quit at work, and I've had to pick up so many extra shifts, and it's just been really, really hard on me because I'm really exhausted. And my mom like doesn't like the new woman I'm seeing, and she's just really, really like laying it on thick that she wants me to hang out with different people and meet other people, and she doesn't like her. And then, you know, I have this one class that's in my in my major that I have to take, and I'm going to fail it. I know, and I'm going to have to repeat it. I don't have the money to do that, and it's really, really annoying, and I don't know what I'm going to do, but I just really am glad that we were able to spend time together. So thanks. Bye. Jason, show me what you have in your hand now. No, put him down. If Jason is Jason, always cheats. If Jason is able to accept and listen to my problem and put it down so he doesn't have to carry it, and then accept and listen to the next problem and put it down so that you consciously know that the energy vampire in your life may be bringing you all their problems, but you don't have to hold on to them. You can even say to them, like, I really hear you and I'm here for you. And all I'm going to do is listen, but I'm not going to hold on to your problem. I'm going to put it down right here. Right? You have to consciously make decisions about how you, now I'm not saying be mean to your friends and be like, look, I don't want to hear your problems anymore. That's not what I'm saying at all. What I'm saying is you have to know that you can't keep them here on your chest or on your back. You can't internalize someone else's problems. So really thinking about energy vampires and how we allow them or it to drain us of our energy. It's not that those things may go away, right? If your mom is your energy vampire, or if your daughter is your energy vampire, or if your sister is your energy vampire, they're not going away, people. But how we allow ourselves to be in the moment with those people, that's a different story. Does that make sense? Putting all of those things together, right? The 4 agreements, and then dealing with energy vampires, not allowing energy vampires to make us make assumptions, being impeccable with our word and telling our energy vampires, look, I get that you're having a really rough time, but do you think for 5 minutes I could talk about something that's affecting me too? Being able to communicate, not make assumptions. Always doing our best for ourselves and for our friends and our families. Never taking anything personally, right? If there's an energy vampire, a lot of why they're becoming energy vampires is because of them, not because of you. Okay. Scene. Now questions. I'm going to stop talking. I love spending time with Leadership Academy. So you do that, and now it's all about how you do it. If you say, look, I want to be here for you. I am your friend. I want to listen. But one of the things that we need to go into this conversation with is I will not be able to solve all of your problems. I can listen, and that's part of the having someone have a sounding board, but I'm not going to solve everything for you. And the more like it needs to be a two-way street, right? It doesn't, every friendship, every relationship needs to be a two-way street. You cannot be a punching bag for someone. Being a leader doesn't mean just taking in all of the problems of everyone in the group. It means having people be able to talk within the group and talk to each other and move forward together. Delivery is half the battle. Like you being able to say to someone, I want to be here for you as your friend. But do you realize that you've just taken 20 minutes and just been negative, and I've been listening to it. So now my heart is feeling negative. You can say, like, let's stand up and shake it out, right? Let's just shake all of this out. Let's go dancing because we need to shake it out. Being there for someone doesn't mean saying, like, I'm just done listening to your problems. It's about communication, right? Questions? Comments? We only have 6 minutes. Or do you have stuff you need to do with them, Jason, before you say goodnight to them? Oh my God, that is such a New York sky behind you, Stephanie. I miss the New York sky.
Right? Today is a beautiful day. Finally.
It looks beautiful. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Oh, I'm going to do one thing here and just show you that these are the two men whose books I used in this workshop. This is Don Miguel Ruiz and Dr. Steve Ornelas. All right. Anything?
I just want to say thank you so much. It was amazing, the workshop. It's very, very hard to not take things personally, but I think everyone experienced that daily, in a daily basis. But yeah, just thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you all for spending your afternoon, evening with me. Now I have to go have lunch because I haven't had lunch yet because it's still only 2 o'clock here.
So, are there any other questions for Christina, or comments, or feedback, or anything?
I see a lot of thank yous in the chat. Thank you so much, everyone.
So let me just say this. You know, I miss you very much, and I love you dearly. I really value the fact that we're able to do this at least, you know, once a year, and you're able to share your knowledge and your wisdom. And just to reflect back, because I always say it, I just remember so vividly the first time that I saw Christina speak. And to be honest with you, in this New Jersey ballroom at the I say the National Hispanic Leadership Institute Conference Northeast.
Yep.
That's the exact title of the conference. I was sitting there, and the first time I heard Christina speak, I was overwhelmed too. I completely was taken into a new place. I had to reassess things that I was thinking, and sort of value the things that she was sharing. And over time, the things that she revealed during that session made me a better person, made me think about things in a different way. And that's why it was so easy to say to her, to ask her to join us at the workshops that we were doing, because she was bringing something new. And every time she visited with us, she was impacting different students in different circumstances. I mean, I remember we talk about Bryce, who was a guy who kind of hid underneath a hood and sunglasses, and now he's a teacher. he's working, and he loves it. He loves being a teacher. Yeah, he got the fellowship from the New York City Board of Education and became a teacher. And now he dresses in suits every day, and he's like very engaged with the young students that he works with. And then I think, if I remember this right, you were with us when one of the terrible things happened in Haiti, that there was an earthquake. And Mitsu, who was one of our members at that time, was hearing this in January. And you can imagine, when she was Haitian, she had family back home, and that we took the workshop away from what we were supposed to talk about to address the reality of what's going on in the world and what was affecting one of our members. So all of these things, just to say that all of the information and knowledge that was shared with you today maybe doesn't squeeze in right now because you're thinking 3-day weekend, or you just did a paper, or you just had a class, or whatever it is, but it will come back to you. It will stand out for you, and little bits of it, piece by piece, you'll realize have value in different ways. And you may even take it to the next level and go and read one of these books, and have a relationship with it. And then you can also reflect back on some of what Christina shared with you today. So absolutely. I want to thank you, Christina, for all of the things that you've done over the years for us, including sharing your students with us. I know that I've spoken to Namibia and some other students who've come and done things at Hostos.
Excellent.
And really value them and the impact that they make. And we love you, and we wish you all the best. Happy, as you heard from Elizabeth earlier, we're very excited. We were very excited last year when baby came, and that you got to have this opportunity, because all of the love that's in your heart needs to be shared with a child.
Thank you.
And so I really value. I want to say thank you for being here with us. Thank you for sharing your knowledge and your wisdom with the students of Hostos. And yeah, we recorded all of the the flubs, but we also record all of the knowledge and all
Exactly.
of the experience.
Exactly. We were listening to Wangari Maathai continue to speak, which is always a good thing.
Yes.
So
And
excellent.
beautiful story. So I want to respect everybody's time. I know that you've got plans and things. I want to thank you all for being here as usual. Next week we've got a workshop again. You've got a 3-day weekend to sort of digest. It's supposed to be warm outside, so this may be the last warmth that we have before the cold comes. And it's been kind of cold these last couple of days. So I want to wish you a great weekend, and I look forward to seeing you next week. And we got volunteer activities coming back next week as well. Next weekend with Alzheimer's walks and breast cancer walk and some other things in the parks. And like I said, it's a great opportunity to get out and make an impact on people's lives and lead from your center and your purpose. So
Excellent.
what I do here, Christina, is I say bye to everybody. And I'll start with you, Christina. Bye.
Bye, Christina. Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye, everybody.
Maria,
Enjoy your semester.
Brian,
Yeah, everybody.
Casey, Jessica, Sashi, Annie, Jose.
Thank you so much.
Sherry Dan.
Appreciate it. Bye, guys. Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
I'm glad you made it. Elizabeth, Sabrina, and I will see you all soon. Take care. Have a great weekend. Bye, everybody.
Bye.